Hi, I'm Carolyn.
And I'm Anna.
And we're two sisters who love handcrafting and figuring things out.
Welcome. It is Saturday, July 8th.
Yep.
And we're coming to you from sunny and slightly breezy California. We have to have our sunglasses on today. I'm so sorry if that is
maybe we'll take them off periodically when we're talking and
it's hard.
Like use them a bit as a prop.
Yeah, like this.
I know. So Anna, I was
let me
thinking
think
about
that.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, welcome, and we're so glad you're here.
Yeah.
It's been almost a month since we filmed, and so we're very happy.
We're so happy to be back together. In fact, let's just move our toast up right away.
Shall we? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me get my iced coffee.
Here's to being back together. Life kept us apart for a little bit, but here we are. We have our Phil's iced coffee. Mine is in my much discussed Yeti mug from an episode or two ago.
Yes, it is nice.
Hi, good to be back here with you, Anna.
Yes, thanks. Great.
So, okay, this episode, we have lots for you in store. We're going to start with some chit-chat. We're going to talk about what we're wearing. Anna has a great finish. We have whips. We have plans. We're both curious about things. So we're going to do two little quick We're Curious segments. And then we'll end, a couple shared supplies. And then we'll end with our thumbs up.
Great.
We got a lot going on, everybody. So great. Get your favorite.
All set up.
All
as
set
usual.
up. Yeah, outside. Get your beverage and let's go.
Okay. So when several people asked after the last video in comments about the magnifying lamps that I use, and I wanted to just go ahead and actually show them to you. So
Great.
The one that I use every day, the floor lamp, is called the MAG, as in magnifying, Magnificent Floor and Table LED Magnifying Lamp by Daylight. Daylight is the company. I don't think this model exists anymore, but something similar is there, and I can't remember what the magnification is, but it actually unscrews.
Let me get that.
Here in the middle, so it can go on the tabletop too.
Oh, it can. Oh, okay. So there's a screw right down here on the base.
And I think this came with a purse or a shoe or something. I do keep it covered because I used to teach nursery school, and we did have a little smoky fire start in the leaves with a child with a magnifying glass.
Oh my gosh!
He had seen like a little show on TV about how that's possible, and so he was testing it. So like that really, that was funny. Nothing happened except for we're like, oh, I smell smoke. Anyway, I know the power of the sun and magnifier, so I do keep this covered.
Okay, so the light. Do you ever use the light without looking through the magnifying glass? Like, can you use this just as a light? Could you? So when you turn it on.
I'm turning it on, trying to turn it on, even though it's not plugged in.
You probably have to like
I never
position
do
it
that.
higher. Okay, so you always, it really is about the magnifier and then the glass on the light on the magnifier.
This is super sturdy. I cart it around like this all the time. I am not gentle with it, and it is just sturdy as can be. And I find the size of the magnifier to be, I mean, when I first got it the first couple of days, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so strange. And then once I adjusted, because I'd never used a magnifier before, no turning back.
Yeah.
I think the present one is something like $150 on the Daylight website. I think I paid about $130, and I remember pausing because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much. Worth every time. It's one of my daily tools.
This seems like a tool that you're not going to skimp on. Now, this is why I wish there were places or ways you could test them out, because that is such a big investment.
And it's good looking too. Like I just feel like it doesn't make the room, our family room, feel like there's a big
and so you
lamp
can really leave it out.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay. Now, also from daylight when I'm traveling, because I rely on a magnifying. Magnifying glasses are not enough for me. I have this little rechargeable Halo Go rechargeable magnifier. So what I do is I didn't bring the cord out, but I plug it in at night when I'm traveling, and then anytime during the day, I can put this sort of like under my thigh and look through it, or I can put it on a table and look through it.
Does does your arm swing?
It does. It goes, goes like that.
Yeah.
And it has its own cover for the whole sunshine situation. Anyway, this has such nice weight. They're both
so high quality projects,
great tools, and when I need to replace them, I would look for the exact same thing. That's how strongly I feel about both of these. So anyway, that's what I use. Those are the names. They're both by Daylight. I order them through the mail and highly recommend.
Great. Good. Yeah, it's nice to see them. I know other cross stitchers too have talked about their lamps and different things periodically. Okay, so we have had a lot of life. We haven't seen each other in about a month. So Anna, why don't you talk about some of the things that have happened to you over the last month?
Okay, we had a visit from my daughter MK, her husband B, and their child toddler E. They were here for a week. They got to meet the new baby, and it was glorious. One of my favorite memories is toddler E really enjoying the cooler. We had a cooler outside. We had so many people coming in. We had lots of seltzers and stuff on ice. And she loved to open the top and maybe put some more drinks into the ice water, or to take them out and bring them to people. So that was one of the highlights. And then I got COVID. So my first time with the double line on a test, and I'm feeling so much better and was well taken care of.
Yeah. It's so, Anna was talking about this, both of us being teachers, and how much we're around people. She's been around kids, and then we both got COVID in the summer. I got mine last summer, and you have it this summer.
Yeah, it really felt ironic because I had so many exposures during the regular school year, and middle schoolers are very expressive and exuberant, and just in rooms full of them all the time, to the point where you just you can't even think about it. I'm gonna get COVID. You just go for it.
I mean, now that you're through it, the one positive is with all the traveling and everything in the summer, you had it.
That's true. I've had my COVID experience.
Good. So we were going to film a couple of weeks ago, and then I think it was the morning
of. I was like,
we were going to film. Yeah. Or you're like, I didn't feel great. I don't think you tested positive for another day or so, but we're like, okay, well, let's wait till you feel better to film.
That did surprise me. I had full-on symptoms and tested negative, and I thought, I have a little flu.
Yeah.
But then the second day.
I think that's good for people to remember, because the same thing, I think it happens to a lot of people. I know it happened to me. I was sick, but I was negative. So I'm curious on those tests. Does it test the virus itself in your body, or does it test your body fighting the virus? Maybe, who knows? I'm curious. Any doctors out there want to weigh in? Love to hear it.
And thankfully, those home tests are so easy to use. They're so easy to get. And anyway,
good. Back to it.
Okay. Meanwhile, in your life,
through June, we just had our family from New York staying with us. They just left on July 3rd, so the house feels really quiet, but just a fantastic visit. It was fabulous. And then also halfway through that visit, I was gone for about 4 or 5 days, where a group of high school friends, there are 5 of us, went and got together in Louisville, Kentucky, where one of the friends hosted us. And we just had a blast. I mean, we did this about 3.5 years ago. So it was actually the February right before COVID hit. We went to North Carolina, where 2 of the friends live. And we just have so much fun. And I don't know, you all may have friends like this, or family like this, that you may not see people for a while, but the minute you're back together, boom, it's as if you've never been away. And then I sort of take it to then throughout the stay, we're just sort of catching up with each other's lives and little vignettes. It might have been a vignette from 20 years ago or from last year. So it's just as the stories come out, but you're all just in the same mode. It was wonderful.
Even thinking about you being with us, because of course I knew all Carolyn's friends in high school too. We're so close in age. It just made me so happy.
I know.
They're fantastic, vibrant people.
I know. I feel so lucky to have that group of women as my friends. And then, it's always funny. It's like, what do you take as a hostess gift? So, of course, I always take a pound of C's candy, which I've talked about a lot here. But then for this friend at her house, I'm like, I'm taking her one of my smalls that I've stitched. So I gave her Seasons of the Heart Summer, a pillow. I'm just going to put a picture right here to remind you.
Great choice.
And I actually hadn't been to her home in Louisville. She used to live out in California years ago. So I knew a little bit about her style, but actually her style has gotten over the years more like eclectic. She has lots of just art and different things around. So this pillow just fit in great. And really, I think she really, really liked it. And I know Sarah of Sarah's Stitchy Spot has been talking about stitching smalls, but then also kind of this idea of just, you have this collection of smalls, and it's great when you feel like you need a gift. You just have your resources to give. And I was thinking about that because sometimes it takes so long, the process from start to finish. Like if you think ahead, I'm like, oh, I want to make her something. Like I would have had to start like a month or two before.
Plus, I dislike the feeling of rushing so much. Yeah.
So that just has inspired me too to think about my smalls also as these are just nice little gifts. And I'm also not going to care if the person fully understands the stitching or not. If it's something I think would brighten their house or just I know, like as the giver, I know the thought and care that went into that piece. So that's part of my giving is like, and they may not know that it's like my expression of me. So that was super fun to do.
Great.
So that's what we've been. So lots of visitors and traveling and some sickness, but here we are.
So not so much sort of like regular day-to-day life. We've really had sort of special things happening.
Yeah. Okay, Anna.
Okay,
what are you wearing?
I am wearing the Grainline Studio Willow Tank. It is a staple garment, and I made it 5 or 6 years ago when I got back to sewing garments. One of the first things I did, and sort of remembering how to put a bias binding edging on and things like that. I highly recommend this pattern. This is just quilting fabric, which is quite stiff feeling now that I've learned to sew with a lot of other kinds of fabric, linens and rayons and things like that, which I just hadn't explored at that point. So it does feel a little stiff, but I think it still looks nice and the fabric's fading a little bit, but it's just one of those things I throw on.
Did you lengthen it?
You know, I almost always lengthen my tops 2 inches or so, but I'd have to look back at my notes. I don't remember. Probably. Yeah, probably. Okay. What are you wearing, Carolyn?
All right. So I'm wearing my puffy jacket.
I know. I have one too.
It's about like 11 in the morning here, and we've had really incredible weather. But it gets down in the 50s at night, and so I haven't quite warmed all the way up. California is the place where you wear a puffy jacket up top and sandals on your feet, just a combination. So let me just take my puffy jacket off and show. I'm wearing... It's called the Uniform Cardi. In fact, Anna has hers on too. She's didn't talk about it because I think you just talked about it in the last episode.
Yeah, I've worn it a couple times.
And it comes from this book, Knit and Sew, Uniform Knit and Sew. And it's a collaboration from a knit designer and a sewing pattern designer. And it just gives you lots and lots of options. I think we've talked about this before. So the cardigan, you could use different thickness of yarn, like mine, and you can see it in the catwalk. I have a high-low hem to mine. I think yours doesn't.
Right.
You had different necklines, whether it's
anything else differently.
Maybe you do have a high-low. Do you have a high-low hem, or you have a high? You don't have a high-low hem, but you come up. Maybe that was part of the design.
The edging and
I think our collars were the same.
So pretty similar.
It's so funny. I still have my buttonholes. I probably made this. I didn't have a record of it, but I'm guessing at least six.
Probably similar to, I made mine 2017.
Okay, so probably the same time.
Copyrighted this book. We were into this book.
Yeah, we were into this book.
Such a clever concept.
But it fits really well, and I have my buttonholes. I haven't sewed my buttons on yet. And I was just thinking today when I was putting this on, like, I do need to put my buttons on because it has such a nice V line here.
I'll do it if you want me to.
I'll sew them on, but
you know, sometimes
you're looking for a copyright?
Yeah. 2018.
Oh, okay. So I think we got the book right when it came out. We may have even.
So it's probably summer of 2018. That's probably when we did it.
So highly recommend it. The yarn I used is a cotton linen blend, and it's a yarn I'm using right now in a project, so you'll see it again. And it's a yarn by Esayer. So one of our, yes. Robin, thank you for commenting on the last video and helping us with the pronunciation. So it's Esayer, where the E is the beginning is accented.
And I've been saying Isagar.
You're right. Esayer. So I want to accent the say. Esayer, but it's Esayer. So we're going to work on saying that correctly. And this is I love this yarn. I love this yarn. It gets better when you wash it and dry it. It's held up really well. It has a good drape.
That's what I made this one out of.
So twinsies, samesies. Right. So that's what and if you're all interested, I know Anna's made tunic. I have a halfway made tunic. I need to put that. We have to do a stitch or edition, Anna, because that would be a great stitch. I got to. So highly recommend this
around for someone.
All right, Anna has a finished object.
Okay, so project bags.
I love the zippers on those.
I finished the Scarlet House's Sarah Barnes, and this was originally part of the Kitten Stitcher's sampler box. And I noticed pretty recently, maybe in the last month or two, Kitten Stitcher has disassembled the sampler boxes that she had left and is now selling things separately. So you can buy this on the Kitten Stitcher website by itself. I think it's $14.
I hadn't thought about that. So for her boxes she didn't sell, of course, she can sell the patterns individually.
Yeah, I think it's really clever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is the palette. I'm going to keep this palette together because I think this would be beautiful for a Christmas small. To use as a Christmas small, so maybe we'll set that aside. Anyway, here is the finish.
Just looking at how dappled, I think our son's gonna be okay. We're of course still outside. Just
maybe pulling it back is better. And I just really enjoy a small sampler. The way the colors play on the fabric and all the little motifs, a little house, some flower baskets, some birds, just right up my alley. I enjoyed it so much. And I started this on New Year's on our little retreat. Stitched some in the winter. We were having huge rain and winds at that time, and our niece got her license at that time. You know how we're thinking about the memories that are stitched in?
Mm-hmm.
And then I finished it while I was quiet with COVID. So I feel very connected. It's my first Algerian eyelets too.
Oh, what part of it was?
Up in this wreath are some Algerian eyelets. I really like the way the hole gets flowed by the pulling. What else do I want?
How you personalized it? I just noticed that.
Oh yeah. So I personalized it with our maiden name, and we are one of 5 girls, and definitely growing up we were referred to as the Fisher Girls a lot. Oh, you're another Fisher girl? That was the third. So a teacher maybe at high school, the third person to teach a Fisher girl. Anyway, that was sort of fun. I choose something.
In a second, I think we should pause and pull the table back a little bit to get. I think it'll be a little less glare.
Okay, let's see. This is going to go in the bottom of this box. So there's a drawer that pulls out, and I think I'm going to just sort of finish it as if I'm making a flat fold. I think I might put a little puff, a little something underneath it, and it remarkably fits right in there.
I think putting one layer of the batting makes a huge difference. I know I talked about that on one of my pieces that I laced recently. It felt really flat, and somebody was like, oh, even when you're going to frame something, put that batting underneath it just to give it a little texture and pop. Anna, congratulations.
Thanks. I'm really happy with it. And it's one of those things I feel a little sad and a little happy to get it out and maybe in the living room.
These are beautiful colors. We keep a lot of our crafting supplies at my house. I don't know how I was the lucky one to have that happen. But recently when I was doing some cleaning before our house guest came, I put a few just hooks on the wall out of the sun, and I've been hanging our threads by groups. And some of the threads too, like if I keep a palette, I'll just have that on a hook too. So we can just add this as a hook.
So should I put a little tag like Sarah Barnes, or we don't care anymore? It's from Sarah Barnes. We just know that's a nice combo.
If you want to record it, I don't feel the need, but I think just having the nice combo. This is nice, and this is silk. This is really nice.
It's Belsois and Gloriana, and I mean, they are so soft to the touch.
They really are.
Yeah.
That's Anna. That was a winter project from start to finish.
Yeah. So many happy memories associated with it. So
Yeah.
there we go.
Nice.
Should we pause for a second and pull back?
We're going to pause and just see if we can get the sun a little bit better. Just Anna coming off COVID, we just wanted to film outside. Right. We're back in my puppy coat. It's like perfect. Hopefully that sun will be a little bit better from this perspective. All right, fruits of play.
Oh,
Do you need your sunglasses anymore?
Once I have them on, it's hard to take them off for me.
I know. Anna had the assignment last. You have the paper handy?
Oh, I do.
Because I think yours is slightly better
Let me
than
unzip my
mine.
project bag.
Just show, I'm going to show off my project bag again. This is the bag finished stitching and crafted by Stacey Lorraine. Love this bag. Okay, so Anna gave us the last assignment, and we were working on just this little area in here for our initials. Okay, why don't you go first?
Okay. I did everything I needed to get down to that section. I still have lots of makeup work to do from previous assignments, but I did get down there.
Nice.
My first and
Anna,
last initials.
nice.
Fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
Nice.
So I was laughing at myself though. I was like, where can I go off?
Yeah.
What is the smallest amount I need to do to be able to place?
That's right,
Little,
because
like,
you
receivers of
have
the
to get down there.
Let's see
Okay.
yours, Carolyn.
All right. So I don't yet have my initials in, but I have the space, and I kind of got going once I got down there
Oh yeah.
on that bottom
underneath.
part, on the underneath. And part of it is wind. I don't know yet if I wanted my first name, Carolyn. I'm going to definitely do a C, so I could go ahead and put that in. But I don't know if I want to put in my middle initial or my last initial. My middle name is Quill, and it was our paternal grandmother's first name, and I'm so attached to that name.
Awesome.
In fact, several women in our family, extended family, have that as their middle name. And when I got married, I actually dropped my maiden name for my formal name. It took my husband's last name. And so like the last name, it's like my last name, but I don't have any form of attachment to it. You know, I don't know how you feel like.
I think your decision maybe is already made.
I think it's already made. I think I'm going to do CQ. I think I'm going to do CQ, but I had to just think about that. Anna, how did you position the letters? Did you center them?
I centered them on the bottom bar,
Okay.
and there is one space in between
Okay.
the letter and the bar.
Okay.
I put my first initial touching the bar, and I was like, I'm not sure.
So you have it just hovering
like that,
one
so
stage above. It looks really good.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. I did center it and hovering.
Yeah. Being the geometric stitcher I am, once those geometric V shape that's coming down, once I kind of started on that, I'm like, I'm just going to keep going with this. So love it. Good progress. All right. Our next assignment, I'll show Anna, then I'm going to show you. We're going to come over to this side of the sampler, and we're just going to work right in here. So a little of the flora fauna, a little bit of the geometric, and just start bringing that down. All right. So
Okay.
we're going to work. We both have, do you have this octagon finished? The one that would go under?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to come under this octagon and start working in this area right here. So there's some flora and fauna details in here, and then some geometric coming down there. So we'll just kind of be working in those in parallel. And the reason I picked that is these bands up here, you can see the flora and fauna. These are not my favorite to stitch because I feel like I have a hard time getting in a groove. I have to keep looking at my pattern. So I thought, I'd like to mix that with the geometric, because the geometric, once I get going, so maybe I'll do like a strand of one, a strand of the other.
Yeah, we haven't done a combo. I'm going to just adjust this a little. We haven't done a combo pack like that.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. It's a combo pack.
Good. I like that.
Katie Strachan, and you all have probably seen her most recent video. She's starting what's the Verlanda. She's doing the big sampler. Unbelievable. And she's just talking. She goes, maybe I'll be done in about 10 years. So I feel like we're making progress on this. And so we probably have maybe 2 more years.
No, it's a 2020.
It's a 2024
finish.
Mm-hmm, 2024 finish. All right. So that's our next assignment.
I'm really happy that we're just small chunk. We're just making it happen. Because it wouldn't feel good to me not to finish. I really want to finish this.
Yes.
And yet,
yes,
I usually don't work on it for a long time. So we found something that's working. I'm really happy about that.
Let's just keep it going.
Yeah.
I do want to start. There are some other sort of bigger pieces I want to start, but I feel like I want to finish this one first, just in some ways.
I've had the same thought, but I don't know. But maybe we just start them anyway.
Yeah. All right, Anna.
Okay, so the Smith sampler. I really can't remember how much I've done since the last video. We'll try to find a picture and pop it up. But here is the present state of it. Well, I'll show that first and then I'll. So I've decided I'm going to work across and work the bands horizontally. So I think I've done a little bit more in the swan area since the last time. And every time I work on this, I'm like, I love samplers. Like, I have to make sure I'm spending enough time on samplers. Here's
the colors are unusual. They really work, but they're unusual.
They are unusual. I think that's one of the reasons I was attracted to it in the first place. I'm using the Vicki Clayton silks, which are hard to show because I have them in bags. And I did replace the white though with an MPI bright white because I really wanted that white.
Your white does stand out. Anna, you just made the bold but agreeable statement how much you like samplers. Why do you think?
I think it's a little bit of a lot of different things, and I think I just have always liked sort of that old-fashioned-y look. And I love a lot of the modern cute things too. I mean, think of that modern Christmas tree I finished a month or so ago. But I particularly like samplers that don't have words and don't have a house as its primary focus.
I
so
definitely
this one,
want to stitch this one too.
So you said flora and fauna. I like geometric. I like viney, geometric, and flora and fauna. Those I think are my favorite elements in cross stitch.
And just looking at your stitch piece versus just on the pattern, like even like that star is really incredible, or those little, I don't know what they are on top of the swan, like little magic looking mirrors or something.
I know, that's what they look like too.
Like the Snow White mirror.
So yeah, I think this is when you say Snow White, it makes like one of the words maybe I want to use for this is it's a little whimsical in its use of color. Anyway. This is one of those ones where whenever I get it out, I know I'm just going to enjoy it. This was part of my June WIPCO.
I was seeing what your width was of that. Okay, your June WIPCO. Oh, I forgot our WIPCO tin. Okay, I'll bring that because I got to put a little more money in that.
Next time.
I don't want to forget. I want to keep putting it in so I don't forget.
And speaking of WIPCO, you got a little something going on here.
Okay, so I'm working on M. Bell, 1856. I have it in this, I forget, Sarah, again, of the Stitchy Spot, she calls it like her me bags or the my bags when she's made the bag herself. Maybe she says, oh, this is a me bag. This is a me bag I made, and it's personalized with one of the 2 sports charms from our mom that we talked about before. Here's the back. And this is done by Modern Folk Embroidery, and it originally was a 2-part piece where this is a marking sampler that's a reproduction. And then Jacob designed his own variation of a Quaker motif of medallions to go with it. And here's a bigger quote. And I'm stitching the medallion side. At first I'm like, oh, I'm not interested in that marking sampler. As we all grow and change, I might stitch that as well. So this is my WIPCO. One of my WIPCO calls for July. It's to stitch 7 days. I've already stitched 4 of those 7 days. As soon as I pulled it out, I just got going. And I have one motif here, a small motif. So I'm getting pretty close to finish, and I'm pretty sure, like I kind of get my momentum going. Excuse me. I'm pretty sure I will finish this.
Your color choices are divine.
This
really, fabric always looks like more purpley pink when you photograph it than it does in person. It really is more brown.
It is.
With a sort of plummy,
just a plummy, but it's like an undertone. You wouldn't. Only if your eye could see that kind of color would you notice
you're
that.
Getting really close.
I know, it feels so good. I love caressing like my popcorn you talked about and my cross stitch.
And both
all right,
the fabric
a few details. Again, Modern Folk Embroidery design. Isn't he incredible?
Yes.
Okay. The linen is 36 count wood smoke by Lakeside Linens. It's NPI 993, which is their black, and I'm stitching 1/2. It was cute on Instagram. I'm sorry, I forget who was the commenter, but she's like, how did you get Lakeside Linens? And I think we probably had this before we even knew Lakeside was hard to get. I think needle in a haystack has some just lakeside in there stacked because do you remember where we got this one? Because I feel like you stitched on it.
I think Ye Old Cross Stitchery, which is one of the stores I go with Joan in Philadelphia.
Maybe that's where you got it.
I might have gotten it there. Do you think it's something I got? If it is,
maybe it was there.
Anyway, yeah.
This had already come up in my Whipco board. I had stitched on a one color piece.
This is Needle in a Haystack.
Oh, needle. Okay, so it was from Needle in a Haystack. So I stitched on it in January and then put it away and stitch on it now. You know when you can't stop showing something.
I know. I'm gazing at it too. It's
so
really
much.
A pretty one. I mean, I really like Quaker samplers, but there's something about the size of this one I really like, and a
great.
We're going to say variety. Maybe variety is going to be in our title.
A variety of things.
It's a really nice variety.
It is a nice variety because he has some of the octagons. Octagons. He has a few of these center. At first, I was not as into these, but they're growing on me a little bit, and I think maybe having the variation.
I like them.
To that. So what I have left are these two medallions on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's M Bell, and I'll definitely finish this month.
Yeah, maybe even this weekend. It's looking great. Okay, our next whips are the summer salt boxes, which we started together on the solstice in June.
So it must have been right. I guess you got COVID the following week.
Yeah, I think it was right after my extended family left.
Mm-hmm. I got back
quite
from
a bit
Louisville.
before I had COVID.
Okay, good.
Well, I don't know. Anyway.
I want to say one more thing about my Quaker. This is next up in my queue. When I finish that Quaker, I'm going to do Quaker Housewife. That's my next start. Oh, yeah. We're going up to Needle in a Haystack next week. We have our appointment, and I'm going to kit this one up there. So really excited to start that.
I'm interested in having next turn.
And this was passed to me a gift from Cindy. Thank you again, Cindy, from Cindy C Stitches on Instagram. And if you don't follow her, go and she stitches beautiful, beautiful, beautiful things. So check her out. Oh, Anna.
Oh yeah, this is a new project bag that I made.
What a great combination of fabrics, Anna.
So our summer salt boxes. I'm just going wild with these in terms of my selection because I am doing it on 2 different color linen, and I'm not doing them one at a time. I'm doing them concurrently.
Love it,
so
Anna.
The lighter house is going to be on.
Okay, let's put it on your board.
Oh yeah, please. On my file folder.
Oh, is that what you're using?
Yeah, I can't find my board.
I'm so bossy.
No, you're good. You're really. I think you're great at remembering and reminding.
Thank you, Anna. Anna's so nice. She's the nicest of our sisters.
No, this is the horse. You can barely tell yet what they are, but here's the image. Here are the images. Carolyn's, you'll be able to see hers more. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'm not even really attached to them yet. I need to stitch some more and make friends with them. Mm-hmm. The 2 linens, one of them is Overcast by Cedar River Linen and Design, and this one is Salt Bush from Fox and Rabbit. Mm-hmm.
So
we'll see.
Both 36 count.
I'm just curious about what the lighter house on the darker fabric and the darker house on the lighter fabric and the interplay between those is going to be. I like a collage. That's where I am with those. How about you?
Nice.
Yours is
I'm
much
working
more developed.
on the may I have a picture.
Sure.
I'm working on Salt Box 1, which is the one with the sheep. And I love this design element. The flag starts here and goes all the way across. So I think that's a really cool way that these 2 pieces connect for that. And here is my progress on that piece. And I am using 36 count Prairie Grass by Seraphim. I have to double check that. I'm almost positive that's what I'm starting because I had like 3 that I was picking from. I'm pretty sure I ended up with the Prairie Grass. Mm-hmm. And I'm using the called for classic color work, as is Anna. And here are the threads. I love that turquoise blue and the reds. Paulette always has a fantastic palette, I feel. And stitch 1/2 for this. These salt box designs, this is my 3rd one now. I've done the 2 spring. They are my happy place.
Yeah,
I start stitching, I think I love just the size. They're small, so it's just easy to pick up. Holding the fabric, it's super easy. I always love Paulette's color sensibilities. I I love that it has so much fill-in for the small space. You just kind of can get going in a groove.
It's really looking good.
And then I also love how my idea for how to finish them. I'm having them like photos in a little photo stand, like Polaroid photos. And I even love, there's 17 rows of white, 63 stitches across. I love it. This is my third one doing that. And again, I like mix it up. I will maybe be working on something in here, and then I'm like, oh, let me do a couple rows of white, or let me do a strand of white. And it's kind of like a little break or a little refreshing the palette.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Polaroid look too.
I think too, if you're going to do that many rows, I really encourage do your border as you're going along. And Anna and I are participating in the SAL. It's Salt Box Solstice SAL, and we're stitching along with. Was started by Lauren, Caitlin, and Jessie. I think the three of them have started, and then and we're starting on either the equinox or the solstice of every season and stitching all the seasons. And I'm all in. I think I will do all of them this year.
I think you will too.
I've got my sheep going down there. They're going to have a few little quilt blocks in them.
Oh yeah. Great. One last look while you get your Reverend Gordon out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just savor that up. And I have this one in this is a Hillside Rookery, Olivia B, one of her bags. And it just kind of reminds me of the salt box houses a little bit. So I have that project in there. Let me just put a few things away. Especially we're outside and it's pretty windy. I don't want anything to blow away. Mm-hmm. My little piece to blow away. Here. Okay. Next up is one of my WIPCO calls from, it's been June, and it is the Reverend Gordon Squash Bottom from Not Forgotten Farm. This is in
I was gonna say, you gotta show your bag.
A me-made bag. And here's the pattern.
I think this is one of the fall designs out there that speaks to me. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'll stitch it, but I just think yours is awesome.
Yeah, this is my birthday start. My birthday's in November. My birthday start last year. And I was so excited when it came up on the WIPCO board. And here is, let me put a picture where I was last time I stitched on this. And here's where I am now. Oh, we're starting to get the sun again. Oh, that's probably good. I did all of the house, did some of the banner flags around the border, got the border to connect, and then starting on the cat. So this is very close to a finish. I've put Rev away, and I think I love stitching him, but I think I want to like bring it out and have it as like a fall finish. So I'll probably bring it out maybe the beginning of October and just be like, all right, let's do it. I did have a moment of contemplation though about this piece because it's called the Reverend Gordon Squash Bottom, yet he has a pumpkin head
instead of a pumpkin bottom.
Yeah. So that just occurred to me while I was stitching one day. Mm-hmm. So anybody have any ideas about that?
The Reverend Gordon Squash Head?
Yeah. Maybe it just doesn't have as good of a sound for that.
Yeah.
Stitching this house was perfect when my granddaughters were visiting because I usually didn't stitch until they went to bed at night. And at that point, my brain was like, whoa. So just getting and stitching all of that white house was glorious, glorious, glorious. I think the white shows up pretty well. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it. I wouldn't say it's like popping off the fabric, but you can definitely see it, and it just sort of fits the mood of the whole thing.
Now, one thing I'm going to change is...
Can I see the white on the skein? How bright is the white on the
colors.
skein?
This was one actually where I auditioned two different pieces. I should say, okay, I got this as a kit from Country Sampler, and it's stitched on 36 count. In fact, it's written on she had it written on the pattern, 36 count.
There it is. Old Stationery.
Old Stationery by Seraphim for that. And it was kitted with the DMCs. But I went through, and I've talked about this on a previous episode. I'll probably put which episode it was below, and picked some overdyed cottons to complement it. Because, so for example, his coat, his head, his hat, I wanted to have some variation in the color when I was stitching those.
Yes, I love the effect of that.
And I picked one combination for the house. This was the DMC. and then below it was my overdyed that I picked. And on his socks, I did one of each. I did the DMC, the light DMC and the overdyed. And I ended up feeling like the DMC popped more. So I used the DMC for the house. So there's no variation in that.
It's so funny, just even though you've explained it before, sometimes I forget all the nuances and then you talk about it again and like, oh yeah.
Yeah, and then here is another example. This was the called for DMC, and underneath is whiskey. And it's a little bit darker, and part of that was I noticed some of them, this is done for the flags, the gold flags, they weren't showing up on some fabrics. And I wanted one that shows up. Now, there are little design doodahs on here. Like there's one above the cat that I need to change because to my eye, I read them as swastikas. And I know the swastika has to do with the direction it's pointing, but she has on here ones that point both directions because it used to also be a symbol of luck. Like we had when we lived in San Francisco, we had printed in our concrete in the back that shape. It was going the other direction, but it was a luck symbol. Mm-hmm. It was done like in the 1800s, so pre-Nazi. So I'll put a little star there, or I have to think about.
Or maybe it won't need anything.
Maybe it won't need anything. So that is one little modification when I get there. I'm going to finish the whole piece and then decide what little doodahs I'm going to put there. All right, Reverend, going back in my closet until next fall.
All right, along with the summer salt boxes, I have another little start. When I finished writing my end of year reports for the students, and I started to really feel like, I'm on summer break, I had a couple of quick little starts. This was one of them, 8 Birds by Kathy Barrick. Oh, yeah. Our sister Susan gave this to me for Christmas, the pattern. And Olivia B on Hillside Rookery has a little silk pack for it. Let me hold up the little bag too. And again, just a teeny little start, but oh man, I really think these colors.
The colors are fantastic.
So I can't wait to get back to
that blue.
And we don't know what this linen is. We have to figure it out. It's a little cut off of something that Carolyn made, and we just need to hold it up to her projects and figure it out.
All right. I'm going to take my puppy coat off and warm it up a little bit.
So,
here, hold that.
I wanted to say one thing too. Kathy Barrick's notes say that the antique doesn't have this middle bird, and she put in a bird for balance. So I'm going to think about which of these designs I want to do.
Oh.
You see what? And on the chart, which I can't show you, of course, there's a big circle around the bird that she added. I think I'm going to include the extra bird.
I would definitely put something there. It looks like, to me, this place just looks like it needs something right there.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of the shape of where we put our initials on.
Well, if you wanted to personalize it, you could put initials or something else right there. That's a really good point. You could almost shorten that leaf, just a little bit, and put something there.
Right.
Would that make less than 8 birds? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait, there are like 9 birds on there. 1, 2,
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
What's that? Oh, that's a flower.
It's a bud.
It's a bud.
That's what I've. Bud, not bird. So that'll be fun to work on this summer, just a little.
All right, our son's coming back. I think it's just going to be inevitable here.
We'll do the best we can.
We're going to do the best we can.
Unless
that's what you got.
It was easy to move, so we can move one more time.
Yeah.
Are you bothered by the sun in your face?
I'm just worried that our pieces aren't showing up because of the sun on that. Do you see any shade in the patio? I think it might just be what we have.
Okay.
All right, my last cross stitch whip is in a me bag, Teresa Kogut fabric, birds, and this is called Crow number 5 by Kathy Barrick.
I can't wait to see this again.
Number 5, Kathy Barrick. I just pulled it out yesterday. I just had this calling to stitch on it. I also got my kit of called for silks from Olivia B at Hillside Rookery, and here was the call for palette. And I've discussed this on a previous video. The photo had more oranges in it, but the called for, again, it was probably just a difference with the photography. So I've pulled out several oranges that I thought looked nice And particularly in the filling in of the black, what are those? Octagons. I've been just using a variation of oranges. So here's where I was last time. And just a little bit of progress here. And I've pulled in one more darker orange into the center. And for example, down here, I have a dark and two of the lighters. And I think that dark is going to be a nice balance.
I like it a lot.
So
it popped out at me right away.
So I'll have a combination. This one has the tan center, which was called for. I have some light orange and then a little bit of a darker orange. So I'll do some combination of that. I don't know why this one was calling me. It just was. Although this means I'm stitching with a lot of black right now. But this is also such a fun one because each of these little octagons is its own little finish. They're all slightly different in their design. And then I just kind of keep working on the bird in parallel, on the crow in parallel with that.
It's great design.
For number 5. I think I'll keep this one out and stitch on this one too a little bit more.
Great.
Okay. Wait, Anna?
Okay, so when I was isolating and not feeling great, I really didn't feel like stitching, so I did some knitting and some quilting. I'm still working on a quilt for the new baby in our family, and it's going to be really hard to show, but I'll just hold up one of the panels. It has 6 pieces, and they each have a slightly different design. So maybe when I put all these pieces together, we'll try to get some sort of...
or even some sort of photo, even like one of the ones you sent in text this morning.
So I've messed around with the colors a lot because we'll just hold up one more. The colors vary from chunk to chunk, section to section, and I thought they were going to sort of flow into each other and look cool, but now I'm thinking I might end up sort of like window painting and having each section, putting some very, very thin sashing in between and have them really be sections, not things that are flowing into each other. But it's really, I'm very close to being done, I think, in terms of piecing the top. And then I have to figure out what I want to do for the back.
Anna sent us, both Joan and me, a text this morning where she showed it kind of with this little bit of pink sashing in between and plain. I almost want you to sew one section together to see what does it look like without the pink sashing to join. Because sometimes when they're up against each other, it's hard to know whether it's going to read as a continued block. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I have sort of like one more big decision to make. But that's many, many hours of just repetitive iron. It really helped me sort of pass time.
My next one is also from Whipco, and this is my June Whipco number 4 was knit a sweater in June. And I did not get the sweater done in June, but I will get it probably done in July. And I'm knitting the Donner sweater, designed by Elizabeth Doherty. And I had yarn in my stash, and it's the same yarn that we knit our sweaters in. It's a linen cotton combination. Here's my main color that I'm using, same as Anna's sweater. And then I just had these little pops of color. I have them just in balls right now for easy use. And here is my progress.
I really like the way these colors look together.
Yeah, we'll talk. There's maybe some things I would have done differently with design. We'll talk about, but here I have my neck and I'm coming down my body. I have about maybe 3 more inches of the body to go. And this yarn is so interesting because it has a different drape and feel and even a different gauge, which is the size of the stitches, pre-washed versus post-washed. So it's interesting even just feeling the difference between our sweaters and feeling this.
Yeah,
it
closes up.
It closes up. It gets a little bit stretchier. And I like to go ahead. I put my neckband on already because I'll try it on as I'm deciding my final length and my sleeves. And here's the back. And stripes, there's a little bit of commonality, but I'm not making them exactly the same. In hindsight, I wished I had only striped maybe a portion of it.
Oh, really?
I got down to about here and thought, oh, should I just have stripes at the top and then the rest of the body just be the cream? And my daughter-in-law was still here and she's like, I think if you had started up higher, but it would have been like too weird of a place just to chop off. the stripes. So I'm not sure if when I'm done, I know, if it's going to feel too stripy and almost like too much color. So,
I see. I think I like that about it. So,
so that's where I am. And the sleeves, because this is a drop sleeve, the sleeves are pretty quick because you'll start about here and just knit down.
Because you've already essentially knit part of the
sleeves. Yeah, because you can see even once it's on here how it's going to start down your arm a little bit.
Yeah.
She's really an amazing designer. I've talked about her. Her sweaters really fit your body because she doesn't just have you knit triangles and put them together. Like there's so much shaping involved. In the end, it's going to look like a rectangular boxy sweater, but because of all the shaping and thought she's put into it, it fits your body really well. It was starting to overflow my bag.
Well, I can't wait to see that off the needles and on a body.
I know. Oh, yeah.
Last whip. Another thing that just was the perfect thing for me when I was feeling a little low energy, and that is the inches and 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 inches of the gradient.
Oh my gosh, Anna, you must be almost done.
I'm done. I just need to bind off. I wanted to get a little bind off lesson. Remember you taught me about how to keep the stitch on? So anyway, this will get connected into a giant circle, and then when it's worn, it actually goes around 2 times.
And then it's a cowl. Oh, that looks so warm and cozy. So warm and cozy. Just retell the story of this one.
Oh yeah, I made this exact same thing with the exact same yarn for my daughter in 2020, and she was feeling ill in a public bathroom, took it off, left it behind, and then went back and it was gone. So we're replacing that and getting rid of that.
Isn't it the same pattern, the same yarn, everything's the same?
So it was funny. She's like, "Mom, I lost the cowl." I'm like, no problem. Yeah. You want me to knit you another one? Yes, please. Do you want new colors or do you want exactly the same? Exactly the same, please. The yarn is super,
do you remember what yarn it was?
Puffy.
Is it Pearl Soho?
No, I think it's a Brooklyn tweed.
Oh, is it the Peary? Maybe. Like Peerie, something like that.
When I actually fully finish, maybe I'll be wearing it on the next FlossTube. I will, I'll have that. I can't remember. But it has, would you call it loft? What do you call that when it's squishy?
We'll call it loft. Okay.
And she's one of those people that just, she lives in an area where it gets cold in the winter and she just loves that feeling of fall.
Do you remember, I think she was in high school and I had made that turquoise cowl. I had a turquoise, same thing wrapped around. It was knit in a chunky alpaca wool yarn. And I think she was like, can I have that? I don't think I can't remember if I knit it specifically for her or maybe when it was done, I'm like, oh, I got to give this to MK. Mm-hmm. I think she wore that a lot too.
Yeah. In the winter, she wears one a lot.
Sometimes we sit down to film and we think, did we really do this? We had quite a few whips there.
Yeah.
Especially with everything else that was going on. It was fun.
I didn't do big progress on most of them, but moved forward.
Yeah. Neat. All right, let's talk a little bit about our plants.
Okay.
So we'll start. Both Anna and I feel really lucky that we were able to get kits for Susan Stanley's First Stitches endeavor. And I'll put links in the description box below, but if you're curious in this project that Susan Stanley has developed, go watch her. It really was in the last 2 videos. I think it's like, I'm going to say like 36 and 37, but I'll put links there.
I'm just going to say it's so inspiring how much thought and care has gone into this project and how inclusive. She's just found a way to include anyone who wants to be included.
Absolutely. Yes. And I think so many people, I think it really hit a chord for a lot of people. What we're going to be doing is she's going to be walking us through stitching a doll quilt from essentially 1840 as a girl would stitch it then. It's her first stitches. This might be her first quilt that she's doing. And she's made up a fictitious girl named Mary who lives in St. Louis. So we will not only be learning about all the traditional techniques that Mary would have used to learn, but we'll be learning about Mary's life along the way. So fun. And I think everyone's attached to Mary. And as Anna says, Susan's being so inclusive. She's like, just watch. If that's all, you can participate in so many levels. Like watch. use your own modern fabric and tools or whatever's in your stash. Buy one and make kits. She wants people to be involved, and I think people just latched onto that. I know the website was overwhelmed, and we were just lucky that we kept refreshing, and everyone was getting errors, I think. But what can you do when you have probably thousands of people going to one place? And then Susan has since done some pre-order kits and is still putting those kits together. So I haven't fully opened mine yet because I'm going to wait. She's launching on July 10th, the first video, and Anna and I are going to try to watch the videos and stitch these together. So we're going to get together on July 10th and start that. But it came in just a nice box, and she has her logo stamped of first stitches down here. And I'm not going to take it, just beautiful postcard and sticker and welcome letter with all the information. And then in tissue, I'm going to pull out, here is our bag. And I haven't gone into, I thought I'd wait for Anna and we would be going through our bag together. And it has both your fabric and also the tools, and all the tools that Mary would have used at the time. So really, really excited to do that. Yeah. And again, thank you, Susan, for just everything. Susan's one of my thumbs up. I'll just give a preview. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get the thumbs up.
I sort of anticipated, what are we going to do first? But I just can't wait to hear, because I don't know I know how to do some quilting, but I don't know all the historical context. So,
and it'll be completely hand stitched. And Susan's also like, this is how a young girl, maybe 7 or 8, would learn. So she's like, if you've never made a quilt, you can do this. Or if you have a young person in your life, like pull them in and let him or her make their first quilt. So I think it has lots of potential for that. So, okay, let's do a little WIPCO. Why don't you go first?
Okay. The things that I pulled are, I finished Sir Dandy a while ago, maybe a year ago, and I want to personalize this for toddler E. So that's what I need to do. I need to put her name and her birth date there. Then the free spot was called this month. So my free spot said, kit something up with 100 threes. So Carolyn and I are hoping to go to Needle in a Haystack sometime in the next couple of weeks.
We're going on Wednesday.
Probably.
Probably. I'm going. I don't know.
Since I tried the tiny stitching, I'm thinking like I might kit something up in Swasserfine, or I might kit something up in 103. Maybe a little sampler snack. Or maybe I'm going to do both. I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't know what their selection will be for those threads. And then the last WIPCO pull for me, Marianne March, which is, I started this during Sampler September last year. And this is by Kathy Barrick. Our lighting really is getting tricky. I think this is wood smoke too.
Anna, that's it. You got the wood smoke for this project, and then I used your leftovers.
Okay.
That's it.
And let me just hold up a picture of that, because that's...
I'm glad you're getting back to this one, Anna.
This is not a reproduction. It's just something that Kathy Barrick designed. And so I'm not sure what I don't think I'm going to put Marianne March. So as I stitch the rest of the alphabet, I'm going to think about, what am I going to put there? So that's what my WIPCO looks like. And oh gosh, I just like pulling out these older things and saying like, oh, I still really like you.
Yeah,
I'm happy to see you again. What about your WIPCO,
I have so
Carolyn?
enjoyed WIPCO. Okay, WIPCO. My number 9 was M Bell, and you already saw that, and that's to stitch 7 days, and I've already stitched 4. That will definitely get done.
Yeah.
My free space number 13 was enjoy an ice cream cone. So I'm really looking forward. I think Anna, you want to come enjoy an ice cream cone with me?
When she told me that, I'm like, oh, I want to come for that one.
So that one's definitely going to get done at least once. And then number 21 for me was stitch a portion of a sampler. And at first I wasn't quite sure, do I want to do a portion because I just did that, or do I want to do a full sampler? But then again, listening to Susan Stanley talk, her fabric for the bags that she's made has this vase of flowers. And even though she's out of this fabric, as she's making bags for the pre-orders, she's focusing on having this flower vase. And she talked about how that was popular on fabric of the time. And she even goes into the process of a gentleman who was in the US, the States at the time, and was making fabrics. Really interesting, the history of that. So I'm like, hey, I'm into this. So I'm going to pick a sampler. and pull off one of the flower vases from that sampler and stitch that as my portion of a sampler. So for that, I instantly knew I was going to do this big old pot of beautiful, crazy flowers.
I wasn't sure which one. Okay. So
right under the red
center.
deer. I love the sampler. I know I'm not going to stitch the whole thing, but every time I look at that flower vase, I love it. So I think that I will start that. And when we go to needle, I don't know, why are you being so hesitant about going?
No, I don't know. I can't wait.
If traffic's not bad, let's go through San Francisco to get there and go to Fillmore Bakery. Okay.
Twist my arm.
That will get her. To go. But I will, this is one thing I'm going to definitely get going. So those are my WIPCO plans.
Last time we went to Fillmore Bakery, Carolyn offered to treat, and I said, well, I'm going to get 5 or 6 things. So.
Anna, of all the people I know, you are like super, you don't overeat on anything, let alone sweets. So I thought she'd have one little thing and she'd be like, I'm too full to finish it.
I really like to taste things at bakeries. So that is an exception. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
We're curious section.
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a longer video. Just as so you know, I have I forget what it's called, table of contents. What is it? Down below, chapters. So
I couldn't think of the word either.
Scroll through us, pause us, come back to us, whatever. But we're going to keep talking.
All right.
Okay, we're curious.
One of the things I've been curious about is how to set dies, because I've been watching Carolyn do all these deep explorations during her sabbatical. One, she's learned to wet block, and I'm very interested in trying that. And she had, with her spring salt boxes, one of the hand-dyed cottons ran. That was not color fast. So I have been thinking, like, well, how do you set color? And several people, I've done a little research online, and there's a vinegar solution that's very popular. But as I read further about the vinegar solution, that sets dyes until the fabric gets wet again. So that was not going to be a solution if I want to try wet blocking. So then I kept reading, and there are some products that you can buy to set dyes so that you can get them wet again as long as the water is cold, not hot. So I'm like, I'm going to totally try this. So I tried this with the threads for the summer salt boxes. Some of the threads were the same as the spring salt boxes. And when I did test them on paper towels, almost every single one of them left color, especially the browns and the reds.
Yeah, I think you showed that either in the last episode or the one before that.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can see the paper towel.
So I got a product called Retain, spelled Retayne, and I'm like, Retain. And I'm like, oh, it's retain, as in like retain the dye. It was a really funny moment for me. Anyway, I cut the lengths of the Classic Colorworks. I took them off the tags. I separated them, and then I filled glasses for each color with 140-degree water. And the directions on Retain are for like a big tub, and it was like a teaspoon for the whole tub. So I just put like a couple of drops into each cup. And then it's supposed to be agitated for 20 minutes. So I guess this is for like a washing machine.
Oh, I wonder. I wonder. Yeah.
So I just took a wooden skewer and kind of like stirred each cup.
Did you have them all in the cups at the same time?
Yeah. We'll put up a few pictures. Okay. I mean, this was when I felt like my summer was starting. I finished my schoolwork. I'm like, I'm going to learn how to set dye. So then you rinse each under cold water. And then I put them back onto paper towel to think like, is any dye going to come off? No evidence of any dye running after, but oh my gosh, we'll put up a picture. Because I agitated, I was like stirring them up. They came out like a nest, each of them. I'm like, at one point, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to throw all of this away, and I'm gonna have to buy new threads. It was a very, very funny afternoon at my house.
Did you have them still in skeins?
No, I separated. Each glass had its own color, and each color I had separated the lengths.
You had.
So
okay, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, that was one of the things as I'm doing. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to do this again. Anyway, you'll see in the picture some color came off of some of it. So the water turned pink or brown or something. So I'm not really even sure what I did. Did I just get rid of excess dye? Did I really set the dye? I have more. Again, I was like seriously laughing the whole time. I'm like, this is just bringing up so many more questions than answers. But I'm very glad I tried it because it's been nagging at me. How do you set dye? How do you set dye? And I figured it must be labor intensive if companies that make those kinds of things don't necessarily promise it. There must be something to it. So when Carolyn and I compared our skeins, our colors, it looked like my threads, they were pretty similar in color, but mine didn't have sort of like a brown over dye look to them that some of yours did.
I wonder if that brown is a big, because that's the one that ran for me also when I did it. So Anna, when you're done, then when you're done stitching the summer salt boxes, are you going to wet block them and just like go for it?
Don't I? I have
Yeah,
to.
you do.
Yeah,
Yeah, you do.
I have to finish the whole thing. Anyway, here's some takeaways. Like, one of them was what I just said. Like, I'm not really even sure what I just did. Did I use enough water? Did I use enough retain? I don't know.
Yeah.
Another takeaway is like, I'm just not sure I'm going to wet block pieces because when threads aren't color fast, and maybe I'm going to concentrate mostly on color fast threads. Although some of these dyed cottons, like you were showing in Gordon's Squash Bottom, for flora and fauna in particular, I love that variation, like bark of a tree. So maybe I won't wet block those and be careful with steam iron. And retain has some formaldehyde in it, and as I was reading about that, there's a lot of things in our world that have formaldehyde. It just got me thinking about the world of dyeing, like what chemicals are used in the dyeing process. What about our dyers, who dye the thread and the linen, and maybe another day I will look more into that. But I think just in the clothing industry in general, the dyeing process has some things about it that are not great.
Yeah, I mean, the textile industry is the number 2 pollutant, both fashion and textiles.
So it was my own little step into that world, and I'm just not sure this is all worth it for me.
It's great.
Anyway, it was.
I think one of the great things about curiosity is you end up being curious about more things, right? Just being curious about one thing leads you into other things, and some of those avenues, like sometimes just being curious and being like, okay, maybe this works, but I don't know if this is a process I want to do. Is it worth?
That's definitely where I am, and that would have nagged at me. Now I know.
Yeah.
So it was quite an adventure, and I'll be curious when our salt boxes are done how different they look as well.
That will be a great comparison to do once it's stitched to see, because some of the threads might look a little bit different on the skein, but then once you stitch them, and we both got them. Where did you get your threads from? Do you remember? I think I may have ordered mine from 123 Stitch.
I might have gotten mine from Kitten Stitcher.
Just wondering how because we should have maybe looked at the threads beforehand, because some of them have that natural variation for that.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool, Anna.
Anyway,
okay.
That was my
curiosity. Hopefully send me pictures and I'll insert them into the video. So hopefully that's really cool.
They're funny.
Okay, I've been really curious about marking samplers, and part of this is the bigger umbrella of curiosity of a work basket. And again, this comes back to Susan Stanley and all of her discussions of work baskets. And I also think work baskets have really appealed to me because I'm a person I wouldn't quite call myself a minimalist, but I tend to like fewer things that I get attached to versus I'm definitely not a collector. I have 2 pairs of scissors, one really high quality blunt, and then one lesser quality sharper thing. So I just think my personality lends itself to like curating and making a nice work basket. So I'm really been thinking about that. And one thing that Susan talks about all women had in their work baskets, or all stitchers had in their work baskets, was a marking sampler. And then I'm like, oh, great. I think I'd like to make a marking sampler. And then I realized I'm about to embark on a very large project. I've talked about this before, about stitching the women in our matrilineal line, that we can go back 9 generations and then forward 2 generations. And I'll have the names and birth and dates for all of those women. And since the majority of them leading up to our generation were all born in the Pennsylvania Dutch area of Pennsylvania, I'm like, I want to make this sampler Pennsylvania Dutch inspired. And I had a different idea. We'll talk, this is for a different day. So I thought, well, let me find out how the lettering was done for Pennsylvania Dutch samplers. So of course I went to the book about this that we've referred to multiple times. And they talked about that 90% of the samplers that had uppercase alphabets used. They just called it the generic alphabet. Actually, when you look at it, it's very generic. There's nothing particularly decorative about it. So what I did is I pulled up my Mac Stitch, and I'll show you this in a minute, but I went through this book. They have so many samples of samplers, and I just looked at those samplers, and like I'd say, okay, what does capital A look like on most of them? And of course there was variation, but they had this similar style. So I'm going to bring up my Mac Stitch and just show you what this looks like in design and process. So across the top of my marking sampler, I have my capital letters that I pulled from those samplers. Now this last row is alternative letters. I'm deciding, do I want to have these alternatives or do I want to pick? So for example, here was the A that was most commonly used, but here was the alternative. And you can see it takes less horizontal space.
I was going to say they're pretty wide.
Here are the M and N for the capitals, and then here were the M and N for the alternatives. So I'm kind of trying to decide, and Anna, we can talk about this later, do I want to, on my marking sampler, have both sort of one alphabet with alternative letters, or do I kind of want to make a choice, since this marking sample will be how I will be doing people's names?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do their names mixed case. So I'll have their, of course, the first initial of each of their names, the capital, and then farther below my marking sampler, I then have my lowercase letters. And again, the last row is temporary for me right now. These are alternatives. I'm trying to decide which one I want to commit to, and then the numbers. So this was such a fun project.
Love it.
Just like looking through, and I can't tell you how many times, okay, I'm just going to pull up. I don't know. Okay, so here's a sampler, for example. I'd be looking at their letters, and I do this with my fingers. Does anybody else do that on print documents? You're so used to on your phone, because I'm just like, I just want to look in a little bit more. Was that one stitch or two in there? So this was a fun project. And then I think on my marking sampler, once I have finalized what my letters are, along the bottom, I think I'm going to just pull out a few of the classic Pennsylvania Dutch motifs and just have just a little bit of decoration along the bottom and put my name on that. So that's...
We're really getting somewhere with this. I feel like it's like...
I know.
Focusing in.
And then when I thought, when I'm stitching the actual lineage sampler, I almost don't need to chart out everybody's names. I have their names, and I can use my marking sampler, because I'm just going to, I've been thinking about this, like, I'm like, do I want to center justify the names? I think I want to left justify the names. So I'll be starting their names at the same place and going over. So that's my marking sampler curiosity. And it was so, I can't tell you, it was so fun doing that in the book. And then lastly, I'm considering stitching my marking sampler in wool.
Yes.
Again, Susan Stanley. Your last video, I ended that like I could not stop thinking of ideas. She's talking about she's going to stitch a sampler in wool, and she's been doing a little practice piece with wool. And she said something like, I can feel how the wool moves, or how it sticks a little bit of the move.
The resistance.
I can't remember
totally
exactly.
Imagine it.
But as a knitter and a wool lover, I'm like, I know exactly what you're talking about, girl. And I could almost viscerally feel that. So I might, when we go up to Needle in a Haystack, look at their wool and look at and decide. You do need to stitch it on 28 or 30 count. So I have to kind of think about, would that make my marking sampler too large? Because typically the marking samplers are rolled and put in your work basket. So I have to think a little bit. I'll do a little math, because I'll have finished my.
Do a little math.
I'll do a little math. I'm happy to do a little math. So that's where my curiosity is on that one.
Fantastic. I have some spools of wool thread.
Oh, you do?
If you want to just mess around with them now.
Oh, good. For stitching?
I got them, I think, for like when I was doing some, like putting patches on things and doing some like visible mending kind of thing stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I might take a look at that.
I think I have like gray and blue or something. Great. Okay. Oh, shared supplies.
Just a couple quick shared supplies. I was so lucky. I was a giveaway winner for the Camping Stitcher. The Camping Stitcher. Yeah. Wow. Why did I blank on that? Chris. It was so exciting to first hear your name called on a FlossTube. And it was one of her bigger giveaways. I'm sorry, it might have been for like 3,000 subscribers or some. It was a bigger giveaway.
Was it her 1 year?
Maybe her 1 year. And I got everything. The package came while I was on vacation. And then with all the family there, I just needed to wait to open it. So I just really opened it in the last couple of days. So it was so exciting. So first she made this beautiful project bag that she made, and I really like the clear covers. I want to try to learn to make some of those myself.
Thick that vinyl is. I've always wondered.
It's a nice.
Oh, there's 2 layers.
Oh, that's a plastic bag that's in there.
Oh.
So yeah, it is a nice thick one. And then I also won the United We Stand Blackbird Designs book, this is my first Blackbird cross stitch blowing all over the place. That's all right.
Okay.
Cross stitch book. So I'm excited. It was fun to look through that. This back piece is a needle book. And that's one thing I'm going to be making for my work basket. And so it was great. I had never seen, she has really good finishing instructions in here. So just even looking at the process of how do you make a needle book.
Good.
And then I got a couple little, this is Scott's Mountain Crafts. I think this is Chris and her husband make these. This is one of the wood winders. That was super fun. And then this was so clever. She has a little needle minder, magnetic needle minder that's the Camping Stitcher, and it says Stitch Away. Yeah, Stitch Away with her little logo. But she used it as a way to hold together her floss cards, her floss drops. I thought that was so creative because the magnet holds them together.
Strong.
So Chris, thank you and congratulations to all your milestones that you've been hitting, including your retirement. So Chris retired, I believe it was the middle of June, maybe June 14th, something like that. So hopefully you're starting to wind down and feeling that.
Keep telling us what it's like.
I know, probably 2 or 3 years for me. So super exciting. All right, so that was shared supplies. And then the last thing is I received, I'm going to be stitching please, trying to get it out of plastic. Ooh, this is a thick one. It's Plum Street Sampler, This Joyous Season. And Katie Strachan Embroidery did a silk conversion kit. And this was one I wasn't fast enough to get the kit, so I ordered the pre-order, and I did this maybe, I don't know, January, February, something like that. And they were coming out in May. So I just received this kit, and she's done a slight variation where she doesn't have the words across the top. So she always tells you how she modified the design. I think I'm going to do that same modification. But man,
wow.
Katie just knocks it out of the park with her colors. And these will continue to add to my silk collection that I had through her kits. And just these incredibly beautiful colors. As soon as I saw her samples, and especially these pinks and reds that she puts in the poinsettia plants in that design, I'm like, I have to have this kit. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be starting this one sooner than later. I think.
Great.
I think it might be a July.
What's the linen color?
The linen, I haven't opened that part of the kit yet.
Wait.
So we'll wait and see once we get it. I like to keep her kits done. And she's just had a beautiful kit that she released recently. And then there's one that she's now offering that the Attic did the kitting for her, which is a great idea for her. Because I know she probably has such demand for that. So those are our two new.
Beautiful.
And do you have any shirt supplies?
No, but what I've been doing is buying clothing for my grandchildren.
Tell the quick story.
Oh, yeah. So some of my favorite websites for children's clothing were having big sales around the 4th of July. So I put in an order with Winter Water Factory. And then was it yesterday or the day before, I got an email from them that said, you were our 100,000th order. And to celebrate, we're refunding your order. That was so fun, y'all. It just came out of the blue.
It's nothing better than an unexpected gift.
Right. So it's just a good thing to remember too. Sometimes you just do something. I didn't opt into anything or anything. I just placed an order during a sale. Yeah. And got this incredible email out.
It's a nice way of thanking the customers. It's not like, oh, do this because you want the giveaway. It's because you like their product. I actually was just looking at that site recently because we have a joint Instagram. It's so funny. Sometimes I'll get ads up. I'm like, what's Anna been into recently? You gotta be careful what you're showing.
Sometimes I want, because I think also when I search on Fresh Sliced Peaches, my other Instagram, it knows we're connected. Because I almost texted you. I've been looking for bathing suits and children's clothing because
I've been looking for bathing suits too. So we've gotten a lot of bathing suit things. But I went to their site. I'm glad because that came up as an ad. Then I'm like, because I want to get some stuff.
It's organic clothing made in Brooklyn, and they're known for their prints.
Super cute. They make adult things too.
I've never even looked at that.
Okay, because I was cracking up because everybody agrees to this, that I do sort of twinsy outfits for the 4 girls or enough variation. And
For the
so-
summertime or when?
for when we go to the beach, we all go to the beach
Okay.
in August, and so I have an outfit for them. And this year, I'm like this close. I think I'm going to order from them. I think I'm going to order myself with the matching outfit, even if all I do is wear it.
All you do is wear.
Just wear it like once in the house when like they'll all have it and they'll put it on, and then they won't know, and I'll just like Gramsci's going to come out and I'm going to.
I think that's worth doing at least once.
It's worth it. So
That's hilarious.
if I end up ordering from them, I'm going to do that as well. Okay,
Mhm.
Anna, thumbs
Time-
up.
Time for a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Okay. My first thumbs up is just I cannot get enough of our community sharing our projects on Instagram and FlossTube. It is just so fun seeing what everyone's up to, hearing their insights or how they're feeling about things or like the funny thing here or there. I just really, really enjoy this kind of sharing. And I know that's kind of obvious, and I know we probably say something similar every FlossTube, but I think especially because I've had sort of some quiet days, it's also helped me just feel sort of like connected. It's a little like a little bright light.
Mm-hmm.
So really
Nice.
been really enjoying that. Second thumbs up, special deliveries. Carolyn's involved in this. When I was isolating, just some folks in my life did some very nice things, from bringing groceries to bringing me a special milkshake to bringing homemade brownies and cookies. Those little things just, you know, that idea of like ding dong ditching somebody but leaving a little something. Anyway, that's been a bright spot again these last couple weeks. And then my third thing is magnolia blossoms. We have a huge magnolia tree in our backyard. It was pretty when we moved into our home 30 years ago, and now it's just grown to be huge and majestic. And it also always reminds me of our growing up, Virginia, where we grew up. And for the very first time, just yesterday, I thought, I wonder if I can snip a blossom off and put it in a vase.
Whoa.
Which this blossom was a tight bud yesterday. And when I woke up this morning, it was opening
Spectacular,
up.
Anna.
They don't last very long. They open and turn brown very quickly. And the inside, my kids used to call these matchsticks when they were little and collect them because they come off the interior by the hundreds. Anyway, when my daughter got married, she considered her bridesmaids just holding a single magnolia blossom. But the florist said that they're so delicate that there would be a little stress involved in that. So we decided against it. But look at this. And why have I never...
It's neat too that you cut
Taken one off
the
the
bud
table.
and how it opened like that.
So, magnolia blossoms.
Nice, Anna.
Carolyn.
All right,
your
thumbs up. Thumbs up number one. I am a big, huge Tour de France lover. I'm the type of person that I watch the full coverage every day. And the last 2 years I haven't been able to do it because we were traveling and camping cross country those 2 Julys, and here we're around this summer. I watch it throughout the day, start and stop. It's the perfect daily soap opera. You get to know all the teams, all the stories behind the teams, and then it's just great background stitching. It's really just kind of on in the background.
Are you stitching, knitting, both?
Yeah, I'm always crafting. In fact, I can't even watch TV unless I'm doing something with my hand. So it's a great, I love it. I love watching them cycle. I can't believe it. I also know it is an incredibly dirty sport as far as drugs and different things like that, as far as enhancement. So I have mixed feelings about what the athletes are probably, the choices they have to make along the way. But I love watching it. And also France, it was so beautiful seeing that. And they started in the Basque Country this year, and that's gorgeous too. So love that. My second thumbs up is this book. It's called Unraveling by Peggy Orenstein. She's a New York Times, a different writer, and it's called Unraveling. And my book club read this. Like, the writing is like, okay. It's such a great premise. So it's during COVID. She learned about life as she went from shearing a sheep through knitting a sweater. And so this book talks about that process. So she sheared a sheep. She learned how to prepare the wool, how to spin. She dyed it natural dyeing, and then she designed and knit her own sweater. And she was a knitter before, but all of the other, or I should say she is a knitter. And then all along the way, she interspersed things about her life, but then also things about the textile industry, and just also about the pollution. And I mean, the fashion industry and the textile industry has a very bad side to it. And it's just something for we don't talk about a lot, but it might be something interesting to pursue and look into a little bit more. That part's not a thumbs up, but it is thumbs up to know. But super enjoyed this. Light, it's very light, easy read, and just I finished it and I'm like, I might want to do something similar. I wouldn't do the shearing, but I would buy the sheared top because I can spin a little bit. I have a spinning wheel. It wasn't my most favorite thing to do, but I would do it. But I thought, wouldn't that be interesting to start from a sheep and go to a sweater? Or I also can weave, maybe weave something, maybe weave and then cross stitch on top of it or something. So that's also got me.
See what happens with that.
It's got me going. That might be a retirement project, or maybe like every year, like the first year you prepare the wool, the next year you spin it, the next year you dye it, so on. Okay. Finally, my last thumbs up is, I've been talking about her a lot this episode, but Susan Stanley. Susan, I just need to give you a thumbs up. You are so inspiring. Every time I watch your videos, I become curious about new things. I get all kinds of creative ideas or offshoots, and that is a gift that is so wonderful. So I consider you, Susan, one of my crafting mentors. So thank you to you, and thumbs up to everything you're doing.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Thank you, everybody,
Yeah.
for being here. We've missed you. Feels good.
Feels good to be back.
Feels good to be back, and I'm glad Anna is healthy
Yeah, thanks.
and back to it. All right. So until next time,
Happy crafting.
stay curious. Bye, everybody.
Bye.